My name is Jordan Webb and I'm staring at my phone in a coffee shop in San Francisco's financial district, reading the text message that just ended whatever relationship I had left with my family. The message came from Mom at 2:47 p.m. on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I was in the middle of the most important business negotiation of my life, but I saw her name flash across my screen and I checked it anyway. Old habits. Jordan, I'm sorry but we're going to have to skip you this year for Thanksgiving. Tyler and Madison are hosting at their new house in Westchester and Madison feels strongly that the guest list needs to be, well, she used the word curated. She's worried about appearances since she's invited her parents and some of Tyler's colleagues from the law firm. You understand, right? Maybe we can do coffee next time you're in town. Love you, Mom. I read it twice. Then I set my phone face down on the table and went back to my meeting with representatives from TechVenture Global, who were in the process of acquiring my cybersecurity company for $160 million. If you've ever been treated like the family embarrassment while secretly building an empire, hit that like button and subscribe right now. You're not going to want to miss what happened next. Let me back up 6 years. I graduated from State with a computer science degree and immediately disappointed everyone by turning down a corporate job offer to start my own company. Not a sexy startup with venture capital and a ping-pong table. A boring, practical cybersecurity firm that helped small businesses protect their data. Tyler, my older brother, had gone to Columbia Law. He worked at a white shoe firm in Manhattan, wore suits that cost more than my monthly rent and had opinions about wine regions. When he brought Madison home 2 years ago, she took one look at me in my hoodie and jeans and I watched her mentally categorize me as the unsuccessful sibling. Madison came from money. Old money, the kind that doesn't just have wealth but has country club memberships that have been in the family since 1952. Her father was a federal judge. Her mother sat on charity boards and pronounced interesting in a way that clearly meant disappointing. At Tyler and Madison's engagement party, she'd introduced me to her parents as Tyler's brother, the one who does computers. Not computer science. Not technology. Computers. Like I fixed laptops at Best Buy. I didn't correct her. I was too busy building something real. My company, SecureNet Solutions, had started in my apartment with 2 employees. Me and my best friend from college, Marcus Chin. We cold called small businesses, medical practices, law firms, anyone who had data worth protecting but couldn't afford enterprise-level security. Nobody cares about small businesses until they get hacked, Marcus said during our first year. We're going to be the ones who care first. He was right. We grew slowly, steadily. 10 clients became 50. 50 became 200. We hired security specialists, built proprietary software, developed protocols that actually worked for businesses with limited budgets. Tyler asked me about my computer thing exactly once at a family dinner 3 years ago. So you're still doing the tech support business? He said, cutting his steak with the precision of someone who'd learned proper knife technique. Cybersecurity consulting, I corrected. Right. That going well. We're growing. Good. Madison's father was just saying how important it is to find your niche, even if it's not particularly prestigious. He said it like he was being supportive. Like he was proud of me for finding my little corner. I could have told him we'd just signed a contract with a regional hospital network for $2 million. I could have told him we'd been approached by 3 venture capital firms. I could have told him I was making more than his associate-level salary at the law firm. I didn't. I just smiled and changed the subject. Because I was learning something important. My family's perception of my success had nothing to do with actual success. It had to do with appearances. Tyler had the right degree, the right job title, the right address. I had a startup which in their minds meant I was 1 bad month away from moving back in with Mom. So I let them think it. I drove a 7-year-old Toyota. I lived in a modest apartment in Oakland. I wore hoodies to family events. And I built my company into something extraordinary while they congratulated Tyler for making partner track. The truth was, SecureNet Solutions had grown beyond anything I'd initially imagined. We'd expanded into government contracting, protecting sensitive data for federal agencies. We'd developed software that Fortune 500 companies were licensing. We'd been featured in TechCrunch, Forbes, and Wired. And my family had no idea. Mom would call every few months. How's the computer business, honey? Are you getting enough clients? Like I was running a struggling freelance operation instead of a company with 47 employees and offices in 3 cities. Tyler would occasionally send job postings. Saw this at a tech company in New York. Might be more stable than the startup thing. Let me know if you want me to put in a word. The positions were always mid-level. Always less than what I was already doing. I never told them the truth because I wanted to see if they'd love me without the success. If they'd respect me without the money. If they'd value me as a person instead of as a status symbol. The answer increasingly was no. Madison's arrival made everything worse. She'd grown up in a world where your worth was determined by your zip code and your club membership. She assessed people the way you'd assess furniture. Will this fit with the aesthetic I'm trying to create? I didn't fit. At their wedding last year, Madison had seated me at table 12 with Tyler's college roommate's girlfriend's brother and a cousin nobody had spoken to in 5 years. Tyler was too busy being the perfect groom to notice. Mom just said, "Madison worked so hard on the seating chart, dear." The breaking point came 6 months ago when Tyler and Madison bought a house in Westchester. 4 bedrooms, colonial style, the kind of house that screamed, "We've arrived." They threw a housewarming party. I wasn't invited. It was such a small gathering, Mom explained when I asked. Just Madison's family and some of Tyler's colleagues. Very intimate. I saw the photos on Facebook. 70 people minimum. That's when I stopped pretending it didn't hurt. That's when I realized I'd been running an experiment with a foregone conclusion. My family didn't want a relationship with me. They wanted me to either succeed on their terms or disappear quietly into the background. So I focused on what I could control. The business. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight. TechVenture Global first approached us in July. They were a major player in the cybersecurity space, and they'd been watching SecureNet's growth for 2 years. Our government contracts had caught their attention. Our proprietary software had impressed their technical team. "We're prepared to make a serious offer," their CEO said during our first meeting. "Your company fills a gap in our portfolio. Small to mid-size business security is an underserved market, and you've figured out how to serve it profitably." The negotiations took months. Due diligence, valuations, terms discussions. Marcus and I worked with lawyers, accountants, and advisors. We flew to meetings in New York, Boston, Chicago. I didn't tell my family any of it. The final offer came in mid-November. $160 million. $40 million in cash to me personally, the rest in stock and retention bonuses. I'd stay on as a division president for 3 years with full autonomy and a salary that made Tyler's law firm income look like an allowance. We signed the papers on November 22nd. The announcement was scheduled for November 23rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thanksgiving Day. I hadn't planned it that way. TechVenture wanted to announce before the long weekend to capture the news cycle. I agreed without thinking about the timing. Then Mom's text came. I sat in that coffee shop, reading about how I was too poor and unsuccessful to attend Thanksgiving dinner, and I started laughing. Not bitter laughter. Genuine, surprised laughter at the absurdity of it all. Marcus looked up from his laptop. "What's funny?" I showed him the text. He read it twice, then looked at me. "You're kidding." "Nope. Your mom just disinvited you from Thanksgiving because Tyler's wife thinks you're too poor. That's the gist of it. While we're literally finalizing a deal that's going to make you worth more than everyone in your family combined." "Timing is everything," I said. "Are you going to tell them?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. Let's see what happens. What happened was this. Thanksgiving Day, 6:04 p.m. Eastern. I was in my apartment in Oakland, eating Thai takeout and watching a movie. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Breaking. TechVenture Global acquires SecureNet Solutions for $160 million. Expands SMB cybersecurity division. Then another alert. And another. TechCrunch, Forbes, Bloomberg, Reuters. The story was everywhere because it was a slow news day and business reporters needed content. By 6:15 CNN was running it as a tech sector story. By 6:30, it had made the crawl at the bottom of MSNBC. My phone started ringing at 6:47 p.m. First call, my college roommate. "Dude, did you just sell your company for $160 million? Second call, a former professor. "Jordan, I just saw the news. Congratulations." Third call, Marcus, laughing so hard he could barely speak. "Check Twitter. You're trending." I checked. #SecureNet acquisition was trending in tech circles. My name was trending locally in the Bay Area. Fourth call, Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Fifth call, Tyler. Voicemail. Sixth call, Mom again. Voicemail. The calls kept coming. Friends, former colleagues, business contacts. Everyone except the people currently sitting around a turkey in Westchester, probably just starting to see the news alerts on their phones. I turned my phone on silent and went back to my movie. By 9 p.m. I had 47 missed calls. 32 text messages. 16 voicemails. I listened to Mom's first voicemail at 10 p.m. Jordan, honey, I just saw something on the news about your company. Can you call me back? I'm confused about what I'm seeing. Tyler's first message. Jordan, need you to call me. Seeing some news about SecureNet. Want to make sure you're not getting scammed or something. Madison's text. She'd never texted me before. Jordan, people are asking us about this acquisition news. Can you clarify what's happening? I went to bed without responding to any of them. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to set boundaries with toxic family, because what happened next was spectacular. Friday morning the story had grown. The Wall Street Journal ran a feature about small cybersecurity firms disrupting the market. Forbes published a profile piece about me that their tech reporter had been working on for weeks. Business Insider did a breakdown of the acquisition terms. My phone had 103 missed calls. I finally responded at noon on Friday. One text, sent to the family group chat that I'd been removed from 6 months earlier but could still message. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Sorry I couldn't make it to dinner. I was busy finalizing some business matters. Hope the turkey was good. I attached a link to the Forbes article. The response was immediate. Mom, Jordan, please call me right now, this is important. Tyler, we need to talk. When are you back in New York? Madison, I think there's been a misunderstanding about Thanksgiving. I didn't respond. I was in meetings all day Friday with Tech Ventures integration team, planning the transition. Saturday morning, Mom called from Tyler's number. I answered. Jordan, thank God. We've been trying to reach you for 2 days. I've been busy, Mom. Business acquisition, you know how it is. Why didn't you tell us? Her voice had that trembling quality she used when she was trying to make me feel guilty. Your own family, and we had to find out from the news? I did tell you, Mom. Multiple times. You asked about my computer business at least a dozen times. I told you it was growing. But you didn't say, we didn't know it was. Jordan, the news is saying $160 million. That's correct. Silence. Then, Tyler wants to talk to you. My brother's voice came on the line, using his lawyer tone. The one he used with clients. Jordan, I think we got off on the wrong foot here. Obviously there's been some miscommunication. There's been no miscommunication, Tyler. Mom sent me a text on Tuesday disinviting me from Thanksgiving because Madison thought I was too poor to attend. I accepted that. Then my acquisition news broke on Thursday. That's not miscommunication. That's just bad timing. For you. Madison didn't mean, she was just trying to create a certain atmosphere. I know exactly what she meant. She's been clear about what she thinks of me since the day we met. That's fine. She's entitled to her opinion. Jordan, come on. Family is family. You're absolutely right. Family is family. Which is why it's interesting that you've treated me like an embarrassment for the past 6 years. My voice was calm. Flat. Every job posting you sent. Every time you explained my computer thing to your colleagues like you were apologizing for me. Every seating chart and guest list and family photo I wasn't included in. That's not fair. Do you know what I did for Thanksgiving, Tyler? I ate Thai food and watched The Shawshank Redemption. Alone. Because my family decided I wasn't good enough to eat turkey with them. And you know what? It was the best Thanksgiving I've had in years. We want you to come to Christmas, he said quickly. Madison's already planning it. We'll have the whole family. No. What do you mean, no? I mean no. I'm not coming to Christmas. I'm not coming to any family events until some things change significantly. Mom grabbed the phone back. Jordan, please. We made a mistake. We're sorry. But you have to understand we didn't know. That's exactly the problem, Mom. You didn't know because you never asked. You never looked. You never considered that maybe I was building something real. You just assumed I was failing because I wasn't succeeding in the exact way Tyler was succeeding. We love you. Do you love me? Or do you love the idea of a successful son you can brag about now that I'm worth bragging about? He started crying. It didn't move me the way it used to. I need to go, I said. I have meetings all weekend. Enjoy your holiday. I hung up. The next call came from Madison's father, Judge Harold Preston. That was bold. Mr. Webb, this is Harold Preston. I believe we met at my daughter's wedding. Judge Preston. What can I do for you? I wanted to reach out personally regarding the unfortunate misunderstanding about Thanksgiving. Madison is quite distressed. She feels terrible about the whole situation. I'm sure she does. She's a young woman trying to build a life with your brother. Sometimes in that process mistakes are made. Surely you can understand that. I understand perfectly. She made a decision based on what she knew. I'm making decisions based on what I know. That's how life works. Mr. Webb, Jordan. I'm hoping we can resolve this like reasonable adults. My daughter would very much like to apologize to you personally. Perhaps we could arrange a dinner? I'd be happy to host at our club. There was the country club. The same club Madison had mentioned wasn't accepting new members from certain backgrounds. Judge Preston, I appreciate the call. But I'm not interested in dinner at your club or anywhere else. Your daughter made her feelings about me very clear. I'm simply accepting her assessment and moving forward. I think you're being unreasonable. I think I'm being extremely reasonable. Your daughter didn't want me at Thanksgiving because she thought I'd bring down the class. I'm just making sure she never has to worry about that again. Have a good day, Judge. I hung up on a federal judge. Felt fantastic. The voicemails kept coming. Aunt Carol, who I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. Uncle Jim, who'd once told me I should get a real job. Cousin Whitney, who'd asked me to leave her wedding reception early because I didn't fit the photos. Everyone wanted to reconnect. Everyone had an excuse. Everyone was so sorry for the misunderstanding. I deleted them all. Sunday night, Tyler showed up at my apartment building in Oakland. He'd flown across the country without warning. The concierge called up. Mr. Webb, there's a Tyler Webb here to see you. I considered not letting him up. But curiosity won. He looked terrible when he walked off the elevator. Rumpled suit, no tie, hair messy. This wasn't the polished lawyer I'd grown up with. You flew to California, I said. You wouldn't answer your phone. That's generally a sign that someone doesn't want to talk. Jordan, please. Just 5 minutes. I let him into my apartment. It was nice, stunning view of the bay, modern furniture, art on the walls. I'd bought it 2 years ago when SecureNet's revenue hit 8 figures. Tyler's eyes widened when he saw it. This place is incredible. It's home. He sat down without being invited. I messed up. Yeah. I treated you like you were failing when you were actually succeeding beyond anything I've done. I let Madison dictate family dynamics without standing up for you. I was a terrible brother. Yes. He looked up, surprised by my bluntness. I'm trying to apologize here. I know. I'm agreeing with you. You were a terrible brother. You treated me like an embarrassment. You let your wife exclude me from family events because I didn't meet her aesthetic standards. You spent 6 years making me feel like I was failing when you never once actually asked how my business was really doing. I'm sorry. Are you? Are you sorry you treated me that way? Or are you sorry that I turned out to be worth $160 million and now you look foolish? He flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? Tyler, if my company had failed, if I was actually struggling, would you be here? Would you have ever stood up to Madison? Would you have ever defended me to Mom? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I think you should leave, I said. Jordan. I'm not cutting you off forever. I'm not being cruel. I'm just done being treated like I'm less than because I chose a different path. You want a relationship with me? Great. But it needs to be a real relationship. Not one where you only value me when I'm successful on your terms. What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything from you, Tyler. That's the point. I don't need you to acknowledge my success. I don't need you to brag about me to your colleagues. I don't need a seat at Madison's curated Thanksgiving table. I walked to the door and opened it. I needed a brother who believed in me 6 years ago. That window closed. He stood up slowly. So that's it? We're done. We're on pause. A long pause. Maybe someday we can build something real. But right Right now I need distance from people who only see my value when it's financially quantifiable. He left without another word. The story continued to generate press for 2 weeks. I did 3 interviews, TechCrunch, Forbes, and Bloomberg. In each one, when they asked about my background, I kept it simple. I started SecureNet in my apartment with a clear mission: protecting small businesses that couldn't afford enterprise security. The growth came from staying focused on that mission. I didn't mention my family. I didn't tell the dramatic story of being excluded from Thanksgiving. That wasn't the point. The point was what I built. The company. The real relationships with people who valued me before I had money. Marcus and I celebrated the acquisition properly in early December. Dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant in San Francisco, just the 2 of us. Remember when we were cold calling medical offices from your apartment? He said, raising his glass. Remember when Dr. Patterson told us we were wasting his time and hung up? Remember when we signed him 2 years later for a 6-figure contract? We laughed. Real laughter, the kind that comes from shared struggle and shared triumph. Your family still calling? Marcus asked. Every day. I'm not answering. You going to? Ever. Maybe. Eventually. If they can figure out how to value me as a person instead of an asset. I sipped my wine. But I'm not holding my breath. Christmas came. I spent it in Hawaii with Marcus and his family. We rented a house on Maui, swam in the ocean, ate fresh fish, and never once checked our work emails. Mom sent a card to my office. Inside was a long letter about family and forgiveness and how much she missed me. She didn't apologize for the Thanksgiving text. She apologized for not understanding the magnitude of my success sooner. Still didn't get it. Tyler sent an email on New Year's Eve. Subject line: "Can we start over?" The email was long, detailed, and actually seemed genuine. He talked about going to therapy, about recognizing his own insecurities, about how he tied his self-worth to status and achievement and projected that onto our relationship. "I'm not asking you to forget everything," he wrote. "I'm asking for a chance to build something real. Not brother and successful brother. Just brothers. If you're willing." I didn't respond immediately. I sat with it for 3 days. Finally, I wrote back, "Therapy is a good start. Keep going. Maybe in 6 months we can have coffee." But Madison needs to do her own work too. The way she treated me wasn't just about social class. It was about basic human respect. That needs to be addressed. He responded within an hour. "Understood. Thank you for not closing the door completely." I wasn't closing the door. But I wasn't throwing it wide open either. If you've ever had to walk away to save yourself, tell me your story in the comments. What would you have done? 3 months after the acquisition, I was in New York for business. TechVenture had offices in Manhattan, and I was meeting with the integration team. I texted Tyler, "In town for 2 days. Coffee Thursday morning if you're available." He responded immediately, "Yes. Absolutely. Where and when?" We met at a quiet cafe in Midtown. He arrived 10 minutes early, nervous energy radiating off him. I showed up exactly on time. "Thanks for meeting me," he said. "Thanks for being on time." We ordered coffee. The first 5 minutes were awkward small talk. Weather. Traffic. The usual nothing. Then Tyler took a breath. "I'm still in therapy. Twice a week. Madison and I are doing couples counseling too." "How's that going?" "Hard. Really hard. She's confronting a lot of stuff about how she was raised, about values she never questioned. Her parents are not happy about it." "I imagine not. She wants to apologize to you. Genuinely apologize. Not the social performance kind. The real kind." I studied my brother. He looked different. Lighter somehow. Less polished and more real. "I'm not ready for that yet," I said. "But I'm glad she's doing the work." "That's fair." He nodded. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why didn't you tell us? About the company, the success, all of it." I considered lying, giving him an easy answer. "But we were trying for real. Because I wanted to see if you'd love me without it. If you'd respect me without the money and the status and the impressive acquisition." And for 6 years the answer was no. "You didn't." He absorbed that like a physical blow. "You're right. I know. I don't expect you to forgive me." "Good. Because I haven't. But I'm open to the possibility of forgiving you someday. That's the best I can offer right now." We talked for an hour. Real talk, not performance. He told me about his insecurities, about pressure from Madison's family, about how he'd measured his worth by external validation for so long he forgot what mattered. I told him about building SecureNet, about the early struggles, about the moments when I almost gave up, about how being excluded from family events hurt more than he probably knew. When we left, we shook hands. Not a hug. We weren't there yet. But it was real. "Thank you," Tyler said, "for giving me this chance. Don't waste it." "I won't." 6 months later, I had dinner with Mom. Just the two of us. She flew to San Francisco, insisted on staying at a hotel even though I offered my guest room. We met at a restaurant she'd chosen, researched, picked carefully. He was trying. "Your apartment is beautiful," she said. She'd visited that afternoon. "The view is stunning." "Thanks. I like it." "Jordan, I need to say something, and I need you to let me say all of it before you respond." I nodded. She took out a piece of paper. She'd written it down, actually written down what she wanted to say. Her hands shook slightly as she read. "I failed you as a mother. Not just with Thanksgiving but for years before that. I prioritized Tyler's achievements because they were easy to understand and easy to brag about. I dismissed your work because I didn't understand it and didn't take the time to learn. I let Madison exclude you from family events because it was easier than standing up to her. I measured your worth by external markers that had nothing to do with who you actually are. And I'm sorry. I'm genuinely, deeply sorry." She looked up from the paper. Her eyes were red. "I don't expect you to forgive me immediately. I don't expect you to trust me right away. But I want you to know that I see what I did. I see how I hurt you. And I'm working on being better. Not just saying it. Actually being better." I sat with that for a long moment. "What does being better look like?" I asked. "Therapy. Reading books about family dynamics and scapegoating. Actually listening when you talk instead of waiting for my turn to speak. Not making assumptions about your life. Respecting your boundaries." She folded the paper carefully. "And accepting that you might never want a close relationship with me again. That I might have damaged this beyond repair." "I don't think it's beyond repair," I said slowly. "But it needs to be rebuilt from scratch. Not restored to what it was because what it was wasn't healthy. Something new." "I'll take new." We talked for 3 hours. About my childhood, her parenting, the family dynamics that had broken us. It wasn't comfortable. She cried twice. I stayed calm, detached enough to be honest. But it was real. Finally real. A year after the Thanksgiving text, I hosted a dinner at my apartment. Small gathering. Marcus and his wife. 2 colleagues from SecureNet who'd become genuine friends. Tyler came alone. Madison had a work commitment, but they were both still working on things. Mom came. Nervous, grateful to be included, careful not to overstep. We ate good food, told stories, laughed. Nobody mentioned my net worth. Nobody compared career achievements. Nobody performed for anyone else. Just people who'd chosen to be there, chosen to build something real. "Thank you for inviting me," Mom said as she was leaving. "This meant everything. Thanks for coming. And for respecting the boundaries. Always." Tyler lingered after everyone else left. "This was nice. Really nice." It was. "Think we can do it again?" "Yeah. I think we can." He smiled. Real smile, not the polished lawyer smile. "I'm glad you didn't give up on us completely." "I didn't give up on the possibility of us. I gave up on accepting less than I deserve. There's a difference." "There is." After he left, I stood on my balcony looking out at the bay. The lights of San Francisco glittered across the water. Somewhere out there, 47 employees were building something that mattered. Thousands of small businesses were protected because of what we'd created. And my family was slowly learning what I'd known all along. Your worth isn't determined by other people's perception of your success. It's determined by what you build, who you help, and whether you can look yourself in the mirror. I'd built a company worth $160 million. But more importantly, I'd built a life worth living. Paper beats promises every single time. And sometimes, the family scapegoat turns out to be the only one who understood what actually matters.